Hi friends, welcome back to the Real Rich Women podcast. I'm so excited to have Pavi here with me. I met her when she was in town in Las Vegas at a Tom Ferry conference, and she's actually was ranked top 100 real estate agents in the Bay Area, and she's been a private office agent within the Angle and Volkers network for 3 years now. So I am so excited to learn from her because she was just so sweet and kind when I met her. Like, you know, those people that are just good energy, right? And you gravitate towards them, and you're like, how are you so successful yet so humble, right? And that's the best combination of people, I think, when you see they're super successful, but there's no arrogance, there's no none of that judgment. It's just, you were always just so welcoming and friendly. When I met you, I was like, when I found out you were a private office, I was like, really? Oh my God, that's crazy. So thank you for making time and connecting with us to share with the next generation of real estate leaders who are aspiring to be like you one day, right? So thank you for paving the way and lighting the way for others.
That's so kind.
I appreciate you and your time.
Thank you for including me, and thank you. It's an honor to have been asked to be on your podcast, and I'm excited to be with you.
Of course, yeah. I mean, you're just good energy. I'm so excited to hear what you have to say. So just to start, I think it's like, can you share how you got started in this industry and how did you get to where you are today? Did you start with a mentor or on a team? You know, what were you doing before real estate and what actually inspired you to pursue your career in real estate? A lot of things.
Well, actually, I got my real estate license. Yeah. I got my real estate license in college, just thinking I would have my license someday, hopefully to invest in real estate. And of course, as life unfolds and things change, that's not exactly what happened. But once I graduated from college, I went and lived in Italy for a year. And then I got my MBA after that and had my first daughter after graduating with my MBA and was home, loved being home with her. But after a year, I realized I need to be doing something else. As much as I love, my favorite thing in the whole world is being a mom, but I needed to get back out into the real world. So I had my real estate license living in St. Helena in Napa Valley. I thought, I'll just do real estate casually. And ironically, it was right after 9/11 hit and everybody was reevaluating their life and their priorities. And so anyway, I started doing real estate. I did not work on a team, but I interviewed with this couple. They were just business partners, but a woman and man, and they were, one of the strongest teams in Napa Valley. So I worked kind of side by side with them for about a year and really enjoyed that. But I was on my own until about 6 years ago. And then I teamed up with my business partner, Will Densberger, and he and I worked at our former company before coming to Engel and Volkers. I was there about 18 years and he was there for about 15 years. And we probably started working together the last year there and then decided to move over to Engel and Volkers together at the same time. And we opened the St. Helena shop here in Napa Valley. So we were the founders of this office.
Oh, wow. I didn't know you were the license partner there. That's so awesome. Yeah, I was like,
well, not a license partner, but just a founder.
The founder. Yeah. Okay. That's awesome though. Regardless, I was like, what?
Yeah.
So this is off script, but what inspired you or motivated you to switch to Angle and Volkers from where you were before? Like what attracted you to the brand or the company?
Well, I started with a company here in Napa Valley and again was there my whole career for 18 years. And it was called Pacific Union. And it was a very boutique, very relationship-based company. And then the last, I'd say, year and a half, 2 years, we were bought over by Compass took us over. And that just was not the right fit for both Will and me. And we had become business partners at that point. And I really felt like it had lost its that small boutique-y feel that was really based on relationships. And, you kind of got lost. And this is all tech-driven because that was Compass's primary focus. And so we had been talking to other companies and we had talked about doing our own company with a few other people. And at the same time, we were introduced to England Volkers, which I had heard about the brand both from Europe, but also in New York and Southampton. I was familiar with one of their shops in Southampton. And so we went and met Paul Benson, who, as you know, is our the owner, the CEO of I'd say most of the West Coast offices. And once I met Paul, I loved his energy. I loved his philosophy. And it's actually a really funny story. We met him on a Wednesday, and that Saturday I was taking my daughter to go to boarding school in Rome, Italy. And he was, bragging about their international connection. And I said, well, if you're really so international, I happen to be going to Rome on Saturday. Could you connect me with someone? And he said, absolutely. I'll connect you with Gabriella. By the time, and this is no exaggeration, before I had gotten to my car, he had emailed her. And when I got to my car, it was like a 2-hour meeting, checked my emails. I had already received a response from Gabriella saying, oh, I hear you're going to be in Rome. I would love to meet you. And so as soon as I got my daughter settled at boarding school, I had a couple of meetings with Gabriella, and we had so much in common. Her husband was on the board of the boarding school that my daughter was attending. Her 3 children had attended that boarding school. And then I told her, if I lived in Rome, you would definitely be one of my close girlfriends. So there was a lot of connections. So I'll never forget calling Will from Rome saying, I absolutely love this brand. It's perfect for me. I don't know what you're doing, but I'm going to England Volkers.
Oh, I love that
And
story.
then I got home, within that. Yeah, it was really fun. When I got home, then Will and I met with Paul Benson again. And within a couple of days, we had already switched over. And I told him right away, as soon as, I'll never forget, we had lunch here in town. And I said, I'm coming over. I don't know about my business partner, but I'm coming over. And of course, Will did. And it's been great.
Yeah, that is amazing. That is such a wonderful story. And I agree with that wholeheartedly that I was with another international brand as well prior to this. My business partner and I owned Christie's when back in the day. And then since we switched it to Angle and Vokers, though, we realized everyone we've met has been like a close girlfriend. It's really weird. It's like this instant connection. And it's like, I've just met you, but I feel like I want to go like have dinner with you and do brunch and like, let's go to the spa together. Right. And I never had that kind of like vibe and tribe within a company before. And I was like, this is interesting. Like, it's like working with your girlfriends. Like, this is freaking awesome. Like, it makes work fun. So I love that you share that.
I agree with you 100%. And, that's what one of the things someone was asking me, why are you going to EVX? And it really is about you make those connections, but then you just strengthen those connections that you already have. And again, I have so many anecdotal stories. That's part of what I love about
them.
private office as well is, I've got my new best friend in Paris now, and she and I roomed together when we were in Mallorca in October. But one of my closest girlfriends now is an EV advisor from Boston, who my daughter's going to college in Boston. And ironically, Dawn Hadley, who if you haven't met her, I'd love to introduce you to her, talk about energy. She's full of wonderful energy. But I met her the summer before my daughter started going to college in Boston, and we connected, one of my besties for sure. And she said, your daughter's going to college? I said, yes, I'll be bringing her, blah, blah, blah. She's like, I want to be her Boston mom.
Aww,
and sure enough,
that's so sweet.
I mean, not only is she just there for an emergency, but Dawn has her over for dinner. She'll come. She lives about 45 minutes south of Boston. So she'll come into town, take her to dinner. She's taken her to, sports things. And she and her husband have been out here to visit. Yeah, I mean, she's just wonderful. And that's all because of England Volker. So
it is. It's amazing. Like, I just connected. I don't know if I think you met Nancy Gowan. So she was on the podcast last week, and I was just same kind of thing where I'm like, oh my God, I feel like it's like my sister from another mother all of a sudden. I just met you one time. Just, it's amazing. And I love that story that she's like her second mother. It's like the chosen family, I think, right? It's like this chosen family that you get, and it's
100%.
just extra icing. I love it. That's great.
And
okay,
as many people as I had met in prior companies, I never had that kind of connection. There's just something special about these people. So
Same with me. I was with so I started my career in commercial real estate at CBRE, so it's a big international firm. I never felt connected on that level. It was very like cold and like I don't know, just distant from like people were not warm and friendly. Yeah, yeah, very corporate. And so it was just like work and no one talks to each other outside of work. Yeah, with Christie's, same kind of thing where it's just like very corporate, like no warmth, no fuzzy. And I'm the warm and fuzzy type, so I'm like, what is this? So I'm like, what is going on here? Right? This is weird. And then I came to EV and I
I
was like,
think
okay,
that's why we
this
all get
is
along
my
so
people.
well.
I know. I was like, this is my people. Everyone's warm and fuzzy and hugging everyone. Like, this is my tribe. Like, that's kind of person. I'm like, hugs, yes. So, and I love what you also shared. I know it's going off script a little bit, but I love what you shared about relationships and how relationships are more important than tech nowadays. So I'd love for you to share your insights on that because I think a lot of people are like tech and AI and this and that, but I'm like, at the root of it all is relationships. So if you can kind of share your insights.
Definitely. I mean, obviously tech, AI, it's important, right? We can't escape it. I was just talking about a friend and her kids are at two different boarding schools and one boarding school is very pro AI and the other one's trying to keep the kids away from it. And I thought it was a really interesting dichotomy, but I think I try to embrace those things and new things, but I think the core of the foundation of our business is really about relationships. And especially we live in a small community, a small town, and we specialize in wineries, vineyards, estate properties. And it's about relationships. People want to know that they can trust us and they want to, know that there's somebody behind the face, or if they need something after hours or a year post closing, all of our clients know that they can call us. And we have especially close relationships with, I mean, I can't think of any clients that we don't become close friends with, which is really a special part of this business as well.
I love that. Yeah. It's funny because some of my best friends are past clients and people were like, how do you have so many best friends? I'm like, they're past clients and I worked with them really closely for a few months and then we just became best friends.
It's the company.
And so they're like, I don't understand, and it's like, and I don't know, we can table this for later because I was like, I don't know if I want to continue going off script or because I do want you to share a little bit more about the winery thing, just because selfishly, I think I have some personal friends that may be interested in one day acquiring a winery because I'm part of a global mastermind group called Entrepreneurs Organization. So it's a global mastermind consisting of 7, 8, and 9-figure entrepreneurs. And I have a few friends in the mastermind group that have expressed interest in starting a winery as their like second or third business because they've kind of sold their first one and now it's a passion project. And so maybe I don't know if you want to talk about it now or wait till then. Up to you. We can talk about it now.
Sure. It's totally up to you.
Yeah,
I'm happy
yeah,
to talk about it
yeah,
now.
yeah, sure.
I mean, obviously, I live here in Napa Valley. Napa Valley's full of wonderful wineries, and I've been here for probably 25 years. So, no, closer to 30 years. I've lived here 30 years, but been in the business about 23 years. So, I mean, a lot of my friends are in the wine industry. They either own wineries or they work at wineries, somehow involved. And I actually have a wine brand with my name on it.
Oh, wow.
Called Pavi, so that's kind of fun.
Oh my God, that's
It's a small
amazing.
brand, but we produce Italian varietals. Yeah, so by osmosis, even if you're not involved in the wine industry, no matter what industry you are, or you just are sampling a lot of wines because you're living here, so it's fun. I mean, it's a specialized niche. There's lots to learn. I'm always learning something new every day. And, this community is built around agriculture. So when the weather's good, everybody's very sensitive to a lot of rain or if it's too hot in the summer, because we're growing grapes here. Vineyards are crucial to our livelihood. So, but it's an exciting place. Like you said, you have friends this would be a passion project. A lot of our clients, they've been very hugely successful in another industry, and then they want to come here and, just buy a winery and they think it's really easy. So it's interesting to see the whole spectrum. We will help clients kind of from A to Z if they maybe have started a wine brand and they just are looking for a facility. But sometimes clients haven't done anything and they're looking for a trademark attorney. They're looking for a winemaker and a vineyard manager. Sometimes they want to own vineyards, sometimes they don't. So it runs the whole gamut. So there's a lot of upfront questions and conversations to really understand what they want, because oftentimes they'll think they know what they want and they really have no idea. In fact, we met somebody recently from New York and he's like, I want to move there and buy a winery. And, we end up meeting his wife and she's from New York. I don't think they're ever going to move here. So we're trying to kind of curtail what he thinks the big picture is and understand, and then understand what his favorite wine brands are and favorite styles of winemakers, and also appellations, where the grapes are grown, whether it's on Howell Mountain, the hillside, or valley floor, whether it's Sonoma or Napa Valley, or a combination thereof. So lots of questions, every deal is so different. And I really love that. I think my business partner has a big commercial background like you do. I have more of the business, a business background, but the combination of the two, as much as we love residential, it's really fun to have more of the business and a different element on every deal.
Yeah, exactly. And I love that you said you basically
perspective.
It does. And I'm going to do an email intro after this because I think I might have a referral for you, which is great. We did a podcast and we got a referral out of it. And because I love that you share that concierge level service.
That's what I love about Eva. Yes, we do. We had a private office from Oklahoma City where the guy that ran the private office for the family, I had sold basically the gentleman from Oklahoma City a property that he developed into a winery, and an incredible estate property. But he has since, brought someone on to run his private office, and they decided they wanted vineyards. Well, he didn't know anything at all about the wine industry or vineyards. So we really took him from A to Z, and he came out here for three consecutive months for about a week each time. And so the first time we had vineyard manager set up, we're like, these are the top 4. We set up interviews with him. We gave him the questions to ask. Then the next month he came out and we set him up with the top 3 to 5 winemakers. These are the questions you need to ask. And again, he didn't know anything about the wine industry. Now, fast forward 2 years later, they bought about 25 plantable acres up on Pritchard Hill, which is probably one of the most coveted areas in Napa Valley. And he's like, Mr. Vineyard Winery winemaker guy now. And, he'll still check in, but we gave him a really quick college education in a matter of months. So it was fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that because that is like I'm in commercial real estate, and I think the biggest part of our job is providing that education. I'm the same way where I'm like, okay, if you want to start this business, let me start by giving you the resources you need, right? If you're looking to start a restaurant, here's like where you have to look at the restaurant equipment. Here's the contractors that have experience building up restaurant space, because you need a hood, a grease interceptor, a 3-compartment sink, and you need all this kind of stuff that's very unique to the restaurant industry, for instance. Or you need these lenders if you need more capital. You're
probably even giving them their ratios.
Yeah, I'm telling them, yeah, exactly. Like parking ratios, like, oh, here's the size you might need because you want to be able to seat 50 people, or you want to be able to seat 100 people, and things like that. I do the same thing. And that's why I niche down so much, kind of like how you do wineries. I do a lot of restaurants because restaurants are similarly so unique. And I love the problem solving and I love the education and stuff. So same kind of concept. So if I've helped restaurants start from
great to know,
like move here from So if you ever have restaurants looking to expand to Vegas, that's what I specialize in. I've helped restaurants like open 2 or 3 locations out here, expand from New York and expand from Canada. So I love it. Yeah, but it's definitely
that's really good to know, because one of our clients, that we're working with now, is a very famous Michelin star chef here in Napa.
Wow. Okay. If he wants to open out here, if he wants to open out in Vegas, that's what I do.
He just helped open Soho House in Mexico City.
Wow, that's amazing. Really cool. Yeah, that That is awesome. Okay, now let me get back on the script. I was like still off script, but it's okay. So what was the most expensive property you ever sold? I mean, in Napa Valley, I'd love to hear this story. What was the most expensive property you ever sold? Can you share the story of how you got that buyer or listing?
Well, actually, I was thinking residential, but actually, it was a vineyard that we closed last year, and it was 24 million. It was a vineyard, but it's actually a great story because I was meeting a girlfriend for a hike about, I don't know, 10 minutes from town. There's Lake Hennessy, and I was going to do a hike with her and a bunch of other girlfriends for her birthday. And there were tons of people. I think it was late April, so the weather was beautiful. So there was no parking close by to where the usual parking lot is. So I don't know, I was a 5-minute walk from where most people park, and parked my car, got out, and there was this gentleman walking his dog. And for whatever reason, I'm social, he's social. We just started talking, and he's like, what do you do? Da, da, da. And I said, oh, I work at Engel and Volker's next to Sunshine in town, which our office is in a great location. It's right next to the best grocery store in town, which in Napa Valley is a big deal, being next to a great grocery store. So anyway, we start talking, and he's like, oh, well, my wife and I own the property right behind us, and we have, all these vineyards back here, and maybe you and your business partner would like to come up and see the vineyards. And somehow I said, oh, we actually specialize in wineries and vineyards, blah, blah, blah. So I go on this hike, and usually I'll think I'll remember things. Luckily, I put his name and his phone number in my phone right away, or whatever it was. And I followed up, right? The two key things: make sure you get the right number, and then actually follow up. So early that next week, I followed up. Will and I went and met with he and his wife a few weeks later, and they said, we don't want to sell. We're not ready to sell. We just want you to be able to see the property. Okay. So we go through. Probably 6 months later, he gives us a call, and he's like, we're not ready to sell. I just want to be clear. We're not ready to sell. We said, we know. But he said, why don't you come give us a valuation? I said, all right. So we prepared our listing presentation, and, again, we are not the pressuring type. And he said, I'm probably going to talk to some other people, and, maybe in the next few years we'll think about selling. We said, okay, great. So he'd stop into our office here and there. And then another 3 months go by, and he comes in and he said, I'm going to interview for, I think we're ready to sell part, not where their property is. So this woman's father had actually purchased the property probably 40 years ago. And so they were retaining their property as well as some vineyards surrounding their house. But the surplus vineyards, they were ready to sell. So anyway, Will and I were up against, the top 3 agents in Napa Valley. And luckily we were the lucky ones to get that listing. So it was a really interesting listing, very complicated. And the wonderful company who owns Palm Juice and several other wineries here, they ended up being the lucky winners. Yeah, so that was my biggest one so far. But hopefully in a year we'll have a couple other fun wineries under our belt.
I love what you shared. The notes I had to take from what you shared were talk to everyone and just be social and friendly, right? It's so simple, yet so many people are afraid of it, right? I'm the same way. I'm like, I'll go on a hike and I'll be like, hey, how are you? What's your name? Like, what are you doing here? Right? And just be a friendly person. Like, that was such a great lesson. The other one was get the right number and follow up. Yeah, I love that. Get the right number and follow up, right? And I actually have a pro tip, and I don't know if you've heard of this. There's an app called Blink, BLINQ, and this is my pro tip for getting the right number.
I have.
You have that one?
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, so my pro tip is
I don't have it, but I have.
You've heard of it? So my pro tip is...
I've heard of it, but tell me how it works.
Yeah, so it's an app, and you can either have someone scan the QR code or you can text your digital card over. So what I do is I pretend, well, I will have like I'll reach for my card, but most of the time I don't have it, and like or I'll pretend to reach for it depending, right? And then I'll just be like, "Hey, oh my god, let's keep in touch. Let me give you my card." I'm like, "Oh my god, I don't have my cards on me, but you know what? I have my digital card. Let me know your number. I'm gonna text you my digital card right now. Let me know if you got it." And then they get your digital card and you get their number. You know, it's like such an easy way to like make sure that you got the right number and that they didn't mess up, because sometimes it's not intentional that they gave you the wrong number, but maybe they just said it wrong or you heard it wrong. And so I do it right away where I'm like, let me get my phone out. I have this app. I'll text you my digital card right now. It should come right away. Did you get it on your phone? Let me know. And then I for sure have their right number and they have my full digital card. So that's my pro tip for that.
Well, it's great advice, and yes, I'm going to install Blink. But I always think, even with names, I'm like, I can remember that name. Such a sweet guy, Bob. I can remember that, and an hour later, I can't remember for the life of me. So it's important. But yes, it's a funny story, and when I say, "Oh, I need to go for a hike," Will's like, "No, we've got work to do. You can't leave." I'm like, "You never know who I'm going to meet, right?" So
I
it's
love
worked
that.
well.
Yes. It's so true. Yeah. And I love that you share that. Like, I feel like, again, every time I connect with the EV agent, I'm like, are we like kindred spirits or something? Like, I don't understand what you're saying, like, resonates with me so much because I'm the same way. I used to be like that workaholic that never took time off. And I was like, just work, work, work. Right. And then I realized when I went on vacation or I went to like yoga or I went to meditation, I'd start meeting clients at these weird places, right? Places that I enjoyed because you find people that you vibe with. And it's like, oh, that person that loves yoga loves whatever like I'd love, right? Or that person that loves to go out to eat at this restaurant. We start talking about food and all of a sudden they become a client of mine. And so it's just about like going back to what you said, being friendly, having and being open to those opportunities and seeking those opportunities too, like you did. And it's not about necessarily getting business, but about making friends and just being genuine like you were. And you're just like, I'm a social person. I just want to make friends. So I love that you shared that and that it's so true. And
I just dropped my daughter off in Rome. She's doing her junior year abroad and flying home. I sat next to this woman from San Francisco. She works at Google. She went to Harvard undergrad and Wharton Business School, and she was so lovely. And, we were talking about real estate, and then I'm a realtor. And she starts asking me about San Francisco real estate. And she's like, I'm thinking of buying. I said, I'm not the expert in San Francisco, but I'm going to connect you with someone. So now I have a referral out with her. So referrals are awesome, and our company is so great with referrals.
oh yeah, our company is amazing with referrals, and I feel like the other things I really loved what you said was like the keeping in touch for months because you were persistent. You know, you stayed like on top of that for months that lead, and I think a lot of newer agents, because this is what this podcast is for, is like they have this instant gratification expectation. And I'm like, you got to embrace like the delayed gratification in this industry, right? It's a lot of times it's what you said. Like, you want that $24 million listing? Guess what? It's going to take you many months of nurturing that relationship, of serving as a resource, of adding value, of showing you care to finally get that $24 million listing. It doesn't come overnight. So I love that you share that. Yeah. Yeah. And that's like, so.
100%. And I mean, I have been in the business for almost 25 years, so it takes time too, or at least it did for me. But I know, and I don't know if it's okay to jump around, but I know one of your questions is there a book that has resonated with me? And there's one, and I think it's appropriate to what we're talking about. But my daughter's, I said, you guys have to listen to this book. I listen to Audible books because I'm in the car so much.
Oh
But
yeah, I
it's called
love
The
Audible.
Compound Effect.
Compound effect. Oh, I've
Yes.
never heard of
Have
that.
you
Hold on, I
read
need to.
The Compact?
No,
It's
I have to write that down.
fantastic. You have to read it. And it's talking exactly about what you just mentioned. And that is, you know, you do a little bit each day towards your goal, whatever those goals are, whether it's exercise or nutrition or, getting more listings, whatever it is. Just do a little bit every day and the compound effect. And you'll get the results that you want, but it doesn't happen quickly. And he starts off the book saying, everybody wants that instant gratification, and it's really going back to the basics. Get up early and work out just a little bit each day, but the cumulative effect will be what you want. And I really I'm definitely a person about systems and trying to do a little bit with my systems every day to get to what I'm looking for. So I wanted to make sure I mentioned compound effect because it's had a really positive impact on what I do, and not just in real estate, both professionally and personally.
I love that. Yeah. I'm a big believer in the saying that leaders are readers. Leaders are readers. So I love books. I have like stacks of books all the time, and I may not read all of them. Like I like to skim and jump around a little bit, to be honest, or I'll do Audible, right? But I love it because I learned so much from books. So I'm a big believer in everything that you're saying. Honestly, again, it's like there's so much commonality, and like I love that because I say that same thing in a different way where I'm like, it's all about consistency. Consistency is key. Business is not difficult. It's actually very simple to succeed. Success and the formula for success is simple. I can break it down so a fifth grader can understand how you achieve success, but will you consistently execute? That's the difficult part, consistency. And so I have this whole framework that one of my mentors, I need to actually do a video on this because it's too long for this interview, but one of my mentors goes through this whole framework, and she's founded and sold 3 8-figure businesses. And she basically told me like, how did I start and sell 3 8-figure businesses? It's because I follow the same simple framework. It's not that difficult. I've taught this framework to our team, but I'm like, this framework's super simple. I'm teaching it. I'll share it with you later. But I'm like, this
I would love
framework that
it.
I'm teaching you, it's so simple. I learned it from my mentor. She's founded and sold 3 8-figure businesses. And she's taught me this, and this is what you use for every business to scale it to that point. But the hard part is consistency. So you can put together this framework, but if you don't consistently execute on it, it's worthless. So I was like,
it doesn't happen, right?
It doesn't happen.
Read that book. You'll love it.
I will.
It's really good.
I will read it. Yeah, I love that. I was like, I love reading, so it's another book to my list. Okay, I love this question. In your opinion, yeah, exactly. I love Audible as well. I have so many in my Audible. So I think I think you learn the most from failure, and most people who are successful have failed more than we've succeeded, unfortunately, but it's part of the learning process. And in your opinion, what are some reasons that agents fail in this industry? And on the flip side, why do you think you thrived in this industry with such a high failure rate, typically, if you're talking statistics?
Well, honestly, I think a lot of people think it's easy. They see that there are successful people out there, and so they think, oh, I can do that. But they're not willing to put in the time and the effort. And it does take work. My daughters know I work a lot, and people that know me are most of my friends say, you work way too much. One of my best friends is a cardiologist, and she always says, you're the only person I know that works as much as I do. And she works all the time. So I think hard work and really caring, I care about my clients, and Will and I joke, we never think about our commission check. We, if our TC asks, what's the commission? I'm like, I have no idea. I'm working on a deal. Like when I have to get to that point, I will. We're really focused on our clients, what's best for our clients. If we've explored all the options for our clients, if we've helped them through the due diligence that they need to do for their deals. And I think the money does, I think there's a book saying if you do what you love, the money will follow. I really believe that. I'm just focused on what's in front of me, what the deal is. And I think that has helped me be successful. I think you have to have a lot of grit, which is also another great book called just Grit, Grit. But having the perseverance to get through the hard times. And I've had plenty of failures. I've made plenty of mistakes. I still want to do things better. I still think every day, how could I make the experience for my client better? Or yesterday I was at a new listing and he said, if you could communicate more with me. And I'm like, oh my God, that was his polite way of saying I'm not giving him enough information. And when we do this business for so long, sometimes we just expect, and they're both like scientists and so smart. And so I think I don't want to, pare it down so he feels like I'm talking to the first time home seller, but sometimes they just need the basics again. And so it was a good reminder that probably kind of pull it back, make it really basic. And we try to have our systems in place so that they are even, as sophisticated as a buyer might be, or for the novice, first time home buyer, for example. But really paying attention to your clients, their little comments. I think I'm really good with the details, and I think I really understand people, and I'm sensitive to if they drop hints or if they need something. And I think that goes a long way in this business.
It does. It does. It's showing like empathy and that you actually care, I think, when you actually pay
And that I'm
attention to
paying
the
attention, and that it isn't just about the paycheck. It's because I want them to get the best deal, or we just had a septic issue recently with our client, and he flew out from the East Coast, and I went to the county with him, and the buyer was telling us it was only a 3-bedroom, and he was convinced it was a 5 or 6-bedroom, and we prevailed because we were really persistent, and we did the work. And I have another client, this Michelin star chef that I mentioned. He gave for me one of the biggest compliments ever. And he said, you and Will actually do the work. You do the work. You go down to the county. You care about your clients. And he said, not all realtors take that much time or care. And, there was something that I was going, or we'll be listing his house as well. And he said, don't worry, you don't need to go. And I said, honestly, if it's not too much of an imposition, I would like to go, even if you're not there. I just want to go put my own eyes on it. And he said he was so impressed that I was willing to do it when he felt like it didn't really matter, but it mattered to me. And, he hasn't signed a listing with me. But I wanted to know, and I wanted to be able to give him my honest opinion. And I didn't feel that I could do that without being on property. So anyway, it was nice that he appreciated it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that was great. I mean, I love again, it's like every time I connect with the Angle Invokers agent, I'm like, I feel like what you're saying is like, you're reading my mind. Cause like, I agree with you wholeheartedly in like so many ways. And I had to like write down all the things that you said, because I literally just like posted something and shared something about this because people are always asking me, right? I'm always the salesperson. And like, if I serve on a board, they're like, Cathey, you're great at sales. Your job is to get us money. And I'm like, okay. And they're like, but how are you so good at sales? I was like, it's actually really simple. I was like, I'll break it down again. If it's simple enough that you could break it down to 5th grader, you actually understand it. And it's exactly what you said. I go like, number 1, add value. Number 2, care the most. Number 3, solve problems. That's all I do. I'm not actually selling them on anything. I'm getting to know them so that I can add value, care about them, love on them, and solve their problems. And so I'm like, I don't need to sell them anything because I'm actually providing them a solution to their problem. And they're like, oh. And I was like, yeah. I was like, isn't that simple? I was like, you don't have to sell.
Take that worry off of their shoulders.
Exactly, right? And so that's my like thing about the sales process. It's that simple. It's not selling, it's selling without selling if you're solving problems. And also the same thing where one of my sayings, like I have these mantras for life that I use, and it's in alignment with what you said, right? I call it purpose over profits. I'm like, you said I don't care about commissions, and I do the same thing. I'm like, I actually don't know like how much commission I'm making on deals. Most times actually. And people are like, how much are you making on this deal? I was like, I don't know. I was like, purpose over profits. If I help this person bring their dream to fruition, if I help this person get the best deal and make money because they're an investor, like I don't care. Like, I don't care if it's a 1%, if it's a 0.5%, or if it's a 3%, honestly. And I feel like so many agents are like, oh, I'm only going to show properties. That's like, why are they giving a 2% co-op or a 1% co-op? I was like, I've sold properties like where I represented the buyer and it was a 0.5% co-op and I didn't care. I was like, you know what? This is a great investment opportunity for you. It's an off-market deal that I found for you because there was nothing on the market that fit your criteria. And unfortunately with off-market deals, they're only willing to pay me 0.5%. I mean, I'm lucky they're paying me anything as opposed to nothing. So it's fine. I'll take the 0.5% because it's an off-market deal because it's the best deal I can find for you. And they're like, wow. And I was like, yeah, like what? I was like, my job is not to make the most money. My job is to help you make the most money as an investor. So I definitely agree with everything that you're saying.
And you never know who they're going to introduce you to. That could be a great referral source.
Oh yeah. I mean, that deal, it was 0.5%, but it's also a large deal, right? It was 21.5 million. So I was like, 0.5% is still a decent payday. I mean, it would have been nice if it was a 2 or 3% on 20.5 million, but 21.5 million, 0.5%, like I have no complaints, right? So it's like that going above and beyond, like what you said, same
Good
thing.
for you. That's awesome.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Even with that, it's like exactly what you're saying. Like most people do the bare minimum and they're like, my job is finding an option, right? And you were like, no, I go above and beyond. And same thing with this. How I got that deal done was like, there is nothing on the market that fits your criteria. Let's go off market. Let's start cold calling like owners. Let's start like reaching out to like developers. Let's start reaching out to people like, and just seeing what we can uncover and what rocks we can turn over. And that's how I found that deal. So
good for
it works.
You. Good for you.
It's a deep dig, but I was like, I'll dig. I don't care. Yeah, so
I want to hear your podcast.
I'm interviewing people, but I feel like in the natural course of conversation, I share my anecdotes too, right? Because it's in alignment, just like I said. Like, it's like when I talk to someone from AV, it's like, oh, what you said is what I do. What you said is what I think. And it's like, oh my God, I just found my new bestie. We should go to the brunch. So I love that for sure, because that grit and perseverance.
Well, I'm coming to EVX, so I'll see you there.
Yes, definitely. And actually, when you come to EVX, we're trying to start a commercial like subgroup for EV Angle Milkers agents. So I'll invite you to it because I'm actually helping them pick the venue for it. Yeah, so we're starting a kind of like a mastermind group with all the commercial agents within Angle Milkers network. So it'll be exciting to do that. Yeah.
Great. Fantastic. Yeah. Thank you.
I think are you flying in early though? Because I think we're doing it on Sunday night. I think it's Sunday night. I don't know if you'll be there on Sunday.
Although I think there's a private office something.
Oh no. Okay.
I'll come by at least. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll let you know. I'll keep you posted. I'm gonna have to. Let me write this down. Okay. I'm gonna have to invite you to commercial real estate. Invite to CRE Mastermind. And then I also have to send you that referral for my friend who wants to buy a winery. And then referral. That's so funny. I was like, wow, I just did a podcast interview and potentially send out a referral, but it's great.
See, you're doing a podcast and making money at the same time.
Right? This is what you talked about. It's the hiking concept. I'm having fun, but I'm also making money. So I love it. I'm like, you said the winery thing, and I was like, I have a friend who was asking about the logistics of like starting a winery. And I was like, I don't know how to start a winery. He's like, you're in commercial real estate. I was like, yeah, but I've never started a winery. Like, I was like, let me see who I can find. So I was like, I found Pavi. So perfect. We're going to get a deal done from this podcast.
Just like when I have a restaurant referral, I'm calling you.
Exactly. I love it.
It will be.
It's going to be, yeah. Let's see. Ooh, okay. Where are we up to? Okay, number 5. Let's see. How did you get your first clients as a brand new agent when you started in this industry? And then where did your most recent 5 clients come from?
Well, my very first deal, it's a funny story, actually. So I live in town in St. Helena, and my OB lived across the street, and his wife was a really close girlfriend. I mean, they had probably moved in right after my first daughter was born, and they had just had their second child, who was like 3 weeks apart. So when she became pregnant with her third child, they decided they wanted a bigger house. And I still live in the same house. It's in a cul-de-sac, and they lived in a 3-bedroom house, and they wanted the 4-bedroom house. So I told them I had just gotten my real estate, I just gotten signed up with the Pacific Union at the time. I had my real estate license. And so they're like, do you want us to be your first deal? And so my OB across the street was my first deal, and he ended up moving from across the street to 3 doors down from me. And ultimately they ended up switching houses. So the woman who was in the 4-bedroom switched to the smaller house because she had just gone through a divorce. And then they switched to the bigger house.
I love that. So 2 transactions in 1.
And the funniest story with that Yeah, the funniest story with that was that he wanted to do a few things. It was a track home, and he was starting to remodel the smaller home that they had. And so he was without a sink in the powder room. And, being new and wanting to be super accommodating, I'm like, well, that's okay. You could take my sink from my powder room. And at the time, my husband comes home and he's like, where's our sink? And I'm like, oh, Dario has it across the street. He'll give it back when he sells the house. And my husband was like, what? If this is how real estate's going to go, you're getting out right away because this doesn't work for me. It was so funny.
I love that story. Oh my God.
I learned to be a little bit less accommodating.
Oh my God.
And just
so
because
funny.
someone needs something doesn't mean that I have to go out and give it to them. But that's how I was in the beginning. So it was a funny story.
I love that story. That is a great story.
And my last 5, I've come a long way in 23 years. My last 5 deals, I'm trying to think. Let's see. I would say they were all referrals or people from our sphere. We have a lot of repeat clients, and we'll sell something to the parents, and then their kids will be in the market looking for something, or they tell a friend. We're very blessed now. We get a lot of referrals. So, especially in the wine and vineyard segment. And then I just got another one from this chef that I'm helping. He referred somebody to us, and I'm very blessed. I'm at a point where the phone rings, not every day, but we seem to get inquiries, either email or, and some turn out to be deals and others don't, as you know. They don't all turn into a closing, unfortunately, but I'm helping someone else. I think I mentioned, one of my close girlfriends here is a cardiologist, and luckily she throws all the cardiologists coming to the St. Helena Hospital my way. And so I'm helping another one. I'm trying to think of emails I got today, and I've been working with them for probably 9 months now. They've been waiting. He's the doctor. He's been waiting for his offer, and she said they just got an acceptance, and so now they have to find something for April. So that'll be a quick turnaround. And I have a client who used to run Newton Winery, which was owned by LVMH, and he's no longer with them. And I rented out his property here. He took a winery job up in Oregon because unfortunately Newton Winery burned down. But he called me the other day. He's having problems with his tenant. So all of our clients know if they have a problem, whether we're helping them today or it was 5 years ago. We try to really emphasize that we're always available to help you. And even though he could have called someone, he's like, I'm just asking you, what would you do in this situation? And unfortunately, it looks like he should get a real estate attorney. I called our EV in-house attorney, and he's like, he needs a real estate attorney for this. So, and ironically, this shows how small the valley is, but I called kind of our go-to person. She's like, oh, I know him from Newton days, blah, blah, blah. So they actually already know each other, and he probably could have called her directly, but I love that they think of me and that they, think of me as a resource, as a valued resource. So.
Yeah, I love that. I have to take notes about it. I keep taking notes on what you're saying because I love it so much. Because it's like the lesson I got out of that is like the problem solver for clients, right? What would you do in this situation? And you want to be that person. You want to be the solution-oriented person, right? And it reminds me of something I tell my team and my agents, which is this. I was like, if you have a problem that you encounter or challenge you encounter in your transaction, come up with 3 solutions. Don't come to me. Don't go to your client unless you have 3 solutions. Don't bring a problem without solutions because you're supposed to be the problem solver for your clients. And so I was like, give them 3 options of how you can solve the problem.
That sounds just like Will.
And so that's exactly what you said. I'm like, look, give that, right? And then the same thing, it's like, again, it's like we have so much commonality. It's like crazy. Every time I meet with EV people, I love it, right? It's just like our soul tribe. And it's like how you said you gave the powder room sink. Like, so going above and beyond, I think that's a great lesson about like that extra touch. And that, I know that's a little bit extreme, but like even little things, right? That's not so extreme. So my team has a $2.7 million listing, which is high for our market. Our average price point is like 400 or 500K or something like that. I don't even know, because my team is much smarter than me. I'm not in the nitty gritty of transactions anymore, right? But it's low. And so 2.7 million is like really high end for us. It's a friend of mine. It's my personal friend. Same with you. It's all relationship based at this point and all inbound referrals, because people know, like, and trust me at this point. And so it's all based on my reputation, right? It just comes to me. Like, I don't have to pitch for it. Like, it's actually a funny story. Like, literally, my friend, I bring my team to the listing presentation because I'm not even working the deals like on the residential side, right? I only work commercial deals. So I bring my team. I'm like, and they start going through their usual EV listing presentation that we have, which is wonderful. They bring the folder, they bring the box, all the things. And then he just goes like, you guys, like, I appreciate what you're doing, but you don't have to do this. I didn't call anyone else. Like, I literally only
need to
called.
hard sell me on this.
Yeah, they're like, he's like, I literally only called Cathey because I know, like, and trust her. Like, I work in sales. I own a business. Like, I know, like, I appreciate your efforts and like trying to sell me, but you really don't have to hard sell me. Like, I just need to know where I sign and how much you want to sell it for. Like, I was like, they're like, my team was a bit confused because they're used to like the whole like horse and pony show for a listing of that caliber, right? And so they're like, oh, okay, we'll get the listing agreement prepared. I'm like, all right.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
Right,
But
yeah,
it took a
thank
lot of
you,
hard
yeah.
work to get to that place.
It did. It took a lot of giving, like you said, giving without expecting anything in return, and giving with the only like goal and intention of helping others and adding value. Because anytime my friend asks me like, how do you invest in real estate? How do you build wealth through real estate? What do you think of the market? I share, and I'm not like, charge me, like, I need a consultant from you, or I don't have time, or whatever it is, right? I just like share. I share openly my experiences. I share openly my knowledge. And so then I become their market expert. And so they're like, hey, anytime I have a real estate related question, I'm going to go to Cathey no matter what it is, because she always answers my questions. Yeah. So that's kind of how that happens. So, I mean, I agree with you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, we have our broker open this Friday is our broker open. So it'll be really exciting. And it's like, it's fun. I'm like, I love these broker opens. Like, you know, I was like, I'm a big foodie. So I'm like, get Caviar Bites. I want Caviar Bites. And they're like, what?
Me too. We have another thing in common.
Yeah, right? I'm like, I told my team, I was like, I want Caviar Bites. Make sure the caterer gets Caviar Bites. They're like, for a broker open, I was like, it's a luxury broker open. Get Caviar Bites. And so I was like, don't worry about it. I was like, if you guys don't have the budget, I got you. And so I introduced them. It's all about who you know in real estate, right? I go like, here, I have a custom closets designer. The lady that does sales there gets a marketing budget from the custom closets firm. Ask her for money to sponsor it, and she could be at the event. And I was like, here, I have a lender that specializes in jumbo loans. Ask him for money, and he could be at the event. Guess what? I just covered your catering costs, and I get my Caviar Bites. So give me my Caviar Bites.
I love it.
Because at first they were like, oh, I don't know, that's kind of expensive. And I was like, you don't have to pay for it. I was like, it's a people business. Utilize your network. And they're like, oh, that's smart. And I was like, yeah, be resourceful. So that's kind of like what I did. And I was like, yeah, there's so many people that want to partner and collaborate with us as real estate professionals. I was like, why not use that to our advantage, right? Why not like collaborate? And it's a win-win for them. Again, 100%. I'm adding value. I'm showing them I care, and I'm solving problems for that vendor, because that vendor wants to connect with our clients. That vendor wants to connect with other agents in the industry. That's their target market, because that's how they get referrals. So it's a win-win for both people. You pay for our food, you get to meet our network, right? Why not? Like, that's what I do. And I'm like that puzzle piece person, you know, and it's something that I said just this morning. I was like, cause I'm in a mastermind group, right? I was like, oh, I'm doing all this. Like, I'm connecting my agents with people. I'm helping them like behind the scenes. Right. And I was like, do you work for your broker, or does your broker work for you? Right. I'm the broker of record, but I'm like, look, like, they don't work for me. I work for them. Right. I do lead gen for them and with them. I'm their marketing coach, and I'm their social media coach, and I help them. I can't do the work for them in terms of that, but I can teach them. I can share my experience. I can share my knowledge, and I can share my resources. Right. So it's like, think about that. Like, does your broker work for you, or do you work for your broker as an agent? Right. That's important. I think, to have the support system, to have the access, to have the connections. Like, that's what I do. I'm like, I'm behind the scenes. I just help my team out. So it's fun. And then they just have to pay me in Caviar Bites. That's all. I was like, I just want
Which
my
you
Caviar
actually
Bites.
got covered.
Yes. Well, I got the cost covered for them,
I'm
but I
right
was
there
like, I
with
do want
you.
Caviar. They're so good. And I was like, where else am I? Like, normal situation, I'm not going to go to like a restaurant and be like, give me Caviar Bites. But I'm like, it's a past app, like luxury broker open. And I was like, I expect Caviar Bites. So get me. I was like, that's all I'm asking you guys for. I was like, hey, I handed you a $2.7 million listing. The least you can do is just get me my Caviar Bites.
Get me my caviar. Make sure to have some bubbles with it too.
Yeah, it is. Like, so fun. I did actually. So I don't drink alcohol. And so I was like, can you guys get some sparkling cider for me too? They're used to me by now. I'm just like, I'm a little bit extra. I'm like, okay, so I want sparkling cider and I want Caviar Bites. It's a fun time though. It's fun. I think our industry is so fun. I don't feel like it feels like work, honestly. Like, I realized, and what you said earlier again resonated with me. Like, people always say, oh, you're always working, you're working so much. But I'm like, you know what? It doesn't feel like work to me because I get energized by doing things I love. And when you're working in your passion and your purpose and you're serving and you're helping others and you're a heart, I think it's like you're leading from your heart space, right? And you're leading with love. It doesn't drain me. Like, I'm so energized. I'm like so excited to show up to work. Like, I'm so excited to do the things. Like, it feels like hanging out with girlfriends. I'm like, it's like planning a birthday party with girlfriends, except it's a broker open. That's all. That's the only difference. So it's great.
And you get paid eventually.
Oh yeah, you get paid eventually. Exactly. So yeah, in terms of, okay, so we talked about a lot about the lead gen. Are there any creative marketing ideas that have yielded good results? I know now you said it's all referral based and sphere of influence, but maybe earlier on in your career, did you utilize anything that's maybe a little bit more out of the box and creative with marketing or lead gen before you had the sphere of influence and before you had the referral network that you do? Way back when. I know we're going blast from the past.
Creative. I mean, I did a lot of the basics, and honestly, I keep going back to, taking your clients out either to an event or a dinner. And Will and I still to this day will take our clients out to a really nice dinner. I'm a foodie like you are, so I enjoy it. They see our passion, and Will actually has a cattle business and he sells his Wagyu to Single Thread, which is a Michelin star restaurant in Healdsburg. So it's really fun to share that with our clients. So for some of our bigger closings, we'll take folks to Single Thread, which is amazing. It's a great experience.
He has Wagyu? Does he sell it B2C or B2B? B2C or B2B? Only like to businesses, or does he sell it direct to consumer too?
No, just B2B.
Oh, okay. I was like, my brother and my hubby would love that.
Small. I know. They'll have to come up to a Single Thread to try it.
Yeah, that's amazing because...
And actually, there's a restaurant.
Mm-hmm. No, I was just saying, I heard Robert Kiyosaki talk. He is so my business partner's personal mentor is Ken McElroy, who's Robert Kiyosaki's right-hand man. And so she hangs out with Robert Kiyosaki and Ken McElroy all the time. And so I had an opportunity to hear Robert Kiyosaki speak. And Robert Kiyosaki, actually, he said, I recommend investing in Wagyu. So that's why it's really funny. He said real estate and Wagyu and gold. Real estate, Wagyu, and gold are his recommended. Yeah. Yeah. So Lisa, I don't know if you know my business partner, Lisa Song Sutton. There's like Lisa Song Sutton is my business partner. She spoke at Limitless Expo in Scottsdale, which was put on by Ken McElroy, and Robert Kiyosaki was a speaker on stage too. So she basically shared a stage with Robert Kiyosaki. So it was really awesome. If you ever need the plug on that, let us know. We're happy to hook it up.
Okay. Very cool.
Yeah. So he listened and followed Robert Kiyosaki's advice. You got to tell Will, like Robert Kiyosaki says to invest in real estate, Wagyu, and gold.
Well, he already has done 2 of those, so now just a little gold.
Yeah, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I mean, that's like iconic book, right? So, but yeah, sorry, I interrupted you. Yes. I just thought of that. I was like, Wagyu, like I would never have thought about that, but Robert Kiyosaki thought about it. So, yeah. So what were you saying? You're saying something about
it's definitely a great story, but again, it goes back. I was just going to say, it goes back to the compound effect. He's out there every morning with the Wagyu, and it's little by little by little develops into this amazing piece of meat that he sells to only Michelin star restaurants, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah, it is really impressive for sure. And I love that you share that again, because it's like I feel like we just have so much commonality, and I'm the same way. I take my clients out to dinners, I hang out with them. They're like, all you do is go out to eat at nice restaurants and hang out. How do you make so much money? I was like, my job is hanging out with my clients who are my friends, and my friends who are my clients. So it's really awesome. We just go to fancy dinners all the time. They're like, I don't understand how you make money doing that. And I'm like, you don't have to. Right? It's really cool.
But you do.
Yeah, it's just by nurturing those relationships at this point, exactly what you're saying, and just being thoughtful. Like, for the broker open we're hosting this Saturday, not sorry, Friday, they are still living there. And so I told my team, I was like, look, this is what I would do, and I recommend you do it. I was like, we're gonna send them out of the house for broker open. Why don't we get them a gift card to a local restaurant that's near their house so they can have a nice date night, and let's also get them a dessert spot so they can go to dessert after dinner, and that knocks out the 2 hours that will be at their house and they're out of their house. And then they're like, oh, that's a really good idea, Cathey. And I was like, yeah, now go do it. So, yeah, but I did half of it. They got I was like, you guys go get
You're
the restaurant gift card.
Ideas.
Yeah, I'm like, you guys go get the restaurant gift card. I'll go pick up the dessert gift card, and then we'll give it to them, and they can send them out on a date night while we're doing the broker open. So yeah, just that thoughtfulness, I think, goes a long way. Well, it goes a long way, right? Because literally, it's my friend, client, and so he was just like, "You're gonna spoil us. Is this normal? Is it?" I was like, "No, this is how you're supposed to treat people. Why not?" So that's the way I think of it. Oh my god, I think we both have to head out soon. But I was like, "There's so many things I want to ask you." Okay, let me see. Let me try to speed this up. Oh, okay, this one's good. So, okay, we've talked a lot about lead gen and marketing, right? But after you get the client, navigating and being able to close that transaction is just as important. It takes a different skill set. So could you share a story about a challenging transaction and how you navigated it successfully?
Oh, honestly, I think they're all challenging. And I think post-COVID, for some reason, they've become more challenging. I mean, even the simple residential ones, I think, seem to be challenging. But certainly the vineyard and winery deals they're complicated. There's less emotional aspect to it than the residential, but there's still a lot of complications in the business and where these grapes going to go because the current seller has, paid for all the harvesting costs. There's so many little details. I just think it's being very mindful of always putting yourself if you're representing the buyer or representing the seller, putting yourself in their shoes and making sure that you're thinking from their perspective. And I think Will and I do a really good job of tag teaming. If they need one thing, Will certainly has his strengths and I have mine. We try not to cross over, but we try to support each other. But really just staying on top of the deal from the minute it starts and I can't even say till it closes because then there's post-closing things that come up maybe 3 months later, 6 months later, and just always being available and making sure that your client knows that you're thinking of them. So, one of the funny conversations Will and I have frequently is he'll say, I don't have anything to tell the client, so I'm not going to call them. And I have a different philosophy. It's like, no, they need to know that you're thinking of them, even if we don't have any good news, bad news, indifference. So he usually puts me on those calls and says, all right, go call them. And our clients are very appreciative just to know that we're thinking of them. So he's really good with the more technical stuff, but I think it's equally as important to touch base and let your clients know that we don't have a definitive answer yet, but we're still working on it. This is what we've done. And in fact, some of our clients for our bigger projects, we have weekly calls with them. And sometimes it's embarrassing to say, well, we haven't done a whole lot, but they just want to know that you're thinking of them. And even if it seems little or trivial to us, I think they really appreciate it. It goes a long way. hearing what we have done. Whether, last week, for example, we're going to be doing a big development project here in Napa Valley, and it's a complicated project, and it's a burned lot basically that they want for over $20 million. So there's a lot of creativity that we need to come up with, which again, we're not just selling ground, right? We have to come up with a whole scheme, of a whole plan of what we envision would be there and what we envision is the best use for that property. And so we've had to pull in a big marketing team to help support us on this because, as Will says, we're realtors like this. We don't do the marketing part, but our marketing team doesn't understand what we need. So there are a lot of conversations to bring them up to speed, to help them understand where we're headed. And as a result, there's not necessarily a lot of definitive information we can show our clients to say, look, this is what we did over the past week. But he was so appreciative hearing kind of what we've been working on. I said, we got a website, we chose there are different styles of websites that we can develop. And, we had a meeting on that. There were 4 different options. So even though we're not showing him a fully built out website, these are the kinds of things that we're working on, for example. So it's just an example of something that's top of mind right now because that's what we're working on. And then we have meetings on Tuesday because we have meetings with the client on Thursday. So our whole team has a meeting this afternoon to kind of share what are we working on, what do we need to do, and what are we going to present to the client 2 days later. So go back to consistency and the compound effect.
I love that. Sorry. And I was totally paying attention. I was just jotting down notes because I'm a nerd.
No. You're good.
I was just like, I need to write all this down because I'm just going to share all this with my team. And I'll be like, well, Pavi said this. And if you guys want to be like Pavi, it's just do everything. It's like, you know what it's like? Okay, I love my team, but it's a little bit like you have kids, right? I don't have kids. My agents are my kids. It's like, but I've heard this from my friends, right? Your kids will listen to part of what you tell them, but if your friend or someone else tells your kids the same thing, they listen to that person, right? And I'm like, I said the same thing to you. That person said it and you now listen, right? It's like that kind of concept where it's like my agents adore them, but they're kind of like my children in my regard. And they're like, it's like, I tell them the same thing, but they're like, now I can be like, well, Pavi said this, even though it's what I said. I am.
Right.
I'm mom. Well,
it just sounds different.
It does from someone else, right? And so that's part of why I love doing this podcast, because then I get to reiterate, like, it's not just coming from me anymore. It's coming from all these top agents I'm interviewing across our EV network. And so you can hear it from them and not just me anymore, because I feel like I sound like a broken record at this point. And I'm like, okay, whatever, it's fine. But anyway, I'm more like, so I joke, I'm like, Lisa is my business partner. Same with you. We have very complementary skills, right? And I always say I'm like the grandma that sneaks cookies, and she's like the mom that's like a pageant mom and like, a little bit of a drill sergeant kind of. And like, you gotta be on top of it. You gotta, she's a former Miss Nevada. So she's like the beauty queen mom. Like she's that kind of person. But she comes from that world. Whereas I'm more like, hey, like, did you guys eat? Let's have some like cookies for our meeting, or like I'll bring some like, pizza or something like whatever it is, right? Like I'll bring some food. And that's like the kind of, so we have this like interesting dynamic of like like Lisa's very serious and like very like structured and regimented. And I'm like warm, bubbly and fuzzy like grandma. but it's so complimentary for our team to have that like dynamic.
You're a
and to have like,
match.
Yeah, to have that like mom and dad. Almost like, or that grandma and mom, whatever we want to call it, right? It's a good dynamic. And that's why I agree with you again, where it's like having a partner and a support system that has complementary skills to you, and that you can like, help each other out. And like, what are you good at? What am I good at? Right? Like what Lisa's good at, I'm not good at. And what I'm good at, she might not enjoy doing, right? She might be good at it, but she just is like, I have zero interest in what you're doing. Like, you could take ownership of that. And then the same thing where I'm like, you take ownership of that, I take ownership of this, we'll divide and conquer, and it'll be better for everyone. So I definitely agree with what you're saying again. Yeah, and I feel like we are almost at time's up, and I kind of want to do a part 2 with you if you're down for it, because the same thing happened when I interviewed Nancy, where we're like, you have so much information to share, we need a part 2. So if you're down, we can do a part 2 next time. And just, I was like,
Absolutely.
continue
Thank
on the
you.
rest of these. No, thank you so much. And I'm going to send you the
It's been
referral.
fun.
It is so much fun. So I'll send you that
Please.
referral for sure. And then I'll invite you
That
to
would
the
be
commercial
cool.
real
And then
estate.
you'll have to come out.
Yeah. I do. Now I was like, I need to do this for business purposes. I just have to go to wine country, it's completely
Let's
for
do
business.
it live. You can come to St. Helena.
I love it. I love it. Yeah. I was like, I want to hear
Just
more
like
about
those
all the
fancy
projects you're
dinners.
working on. Yeah, exactly. Well, for me, it's like I'm actually, so
Absolutely.
one of my things this year is I'm actually trying to get into the development world. I've been investing with my family for over 20 years. Like our portfolio is over 100,000 square feet right now. And so for me, I'm like, the only thing that's ever held me back from developing is fear. And I'm like, fear should not be a reason to not do something. I've always conquered fear. Why is this one thing now the next level? Like, why am I letting fear hold me back? And I'm a big Tony Robbins fan. I did Tony Robbins Date with Destiny last December. And I was
You did?
fear. Yeah, I loved it.
Was
love
it
Tony Robbins.
amazing?
It was amazing. And it changed my life. It inspired me to start this podcast, right? And then it inspired me to pursue development this year because I was like, the only thing ever holding you back from moving on and like progressing to development from you've been investing for like over 20 years. What are you so scared of? I'm like, fear, failure, right? And I'm like, just do it. Just develop. So I want to develop. And so I'm eyeing development project sites. And I actually do want to check up Napa Valley because that might be a potential option for our development project. So
absolutely. Yeah. Well,
maybe
please
I'll
come
be
up
a client.
anytime. We'd love to host.
Yeah.
You never know.
Never know. Never say never.
That would be a good story. From my podcast, I did blah, blah, blah.
That would be an amazing story.
Well, thank you so much.
Podcast. Yes. Thank you. Thank you for your time and for like just making time, sharing all this knowledge. Like I really appreciate. That's my favorite thing about this network is the collaboration over competition and how everyone is just so willing to share and so willing to help others and uplift and pave the way. Because I think that's what it's about, right? At a certain point, you can only use so much money. And so, and this is like a vulnerable share to close this off, but like I had pretty severe depression last year. And I realized my severe depression stemmed from the fact that, I'm out of it now, thank goodness. But my severe depression stemmed from me reaching all my financial goals and not feeling fulfilled. And I was like, my purpose in life was to achieve financial freedom. I achieved financial freedom and why am I depressed? And I really had to sit with myself and think about it and like meditate for 3 hours a day kind of stuff. And Tony Robbins again saved and changed my life because it made me realize it's because my purpose was to achieve financial freedom and I achieved it. And so my next purpose, I call it my second mountain journey, is now to help others achieve their goals and their dreams because I've done it once. And so I have to change my goal now that I've achieved step one. And so I've conquered my first mountain and then my second mountain is making 1 million millionaires. And this is part of that journey. So thank you for helping my mission of making 1 million millionaires. Thank you.
It is my pleasure. And thank you for giving back to the world. It's wonderful.
I love it. I was raised Buddhist.
Well, take care. I'll see you in Vegas.